Welcome to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast, where four women from across North America share real transformative insights on man-sight. I got to start again. I said man-sight. Welcome to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast, where four women from across North America share real transformative insights on mindset, manifestation, spirituality, and personal growth. Join Nicole, Amber, Jennine, and myself each week for inspiring conversations filled with practical wisdom and powerful life lessons. So grab your drink and get ready to collect the golden nuggets that can elevate your journey. I'm Leslie. I'll be your host for today. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Hi.
In today's Hi. I'm so happy to see everybody today, and I'm so excited to hear what you have to say on our next law that we're going to be talking about. And today, the law is the law of rhythm. And I'm excited to hear what your take on it's going to be about how we can manifest our dreams and desires and live our best lives. But before we get into that conversation, I'll just let you know what the law of rhythm is. So the law of rhythm states that everything is in constant motion, following a natural flow or rhythm of ebb and flow, like the tides, or rise and fall like the seasons. It suggests that everything has a cyclical nature, moving back and forth between periods of expansion and contraction, or between opposing states. So there it is, ladies. Our law of rhythm. I'm excited to get this discussion underway, so I'm going to jump right into the first question. So how have you seen the law of rhythm play out in your personal or professional lives? And how do you maintain balance during those lows?
Well, I think it happens, everywhere. I mean, think of like even nature. You know what I mean? We have sunny days, like we were just talking about before this podcast, right? And then we have rainy weather, right? Storms. All across the world, there's tsunamis and hurricanes and earthquakes and all that stuff. Um, but it just reminds us that that is all part of the human experience, right? If we didn't know sadness, we wouldn't know happiness. If we didn't know anger, we wouldn't know love, right? All these different things. And just knowing that when you have those moments of anger, frustration, sadness, right, that there is another side. Just as I'm not a huge fan of winter, but right, knowing that, okay, it's only a few months and then we're going to be back in the spring and then summer and et cetera, et cetera. So just knowing that in that place, it's not forever, and that you can shift out of it. Right. So, that's really helped, me a lot to just understand and be more okay with it instead of trying to like rage against it. No, I'm not mad. No, this isn't happening. I'm not sad. I can't be, that's all part of the experience here. And without it, we wouldn't be able to grow and expand, because if everybody was the same and everybody was just go happy and there was no issues, there's nothing to work through, like we couldn't expand. We would all just stay the same. So it's really helpful to just keep that in mind when those things do come up.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that that brings to mind, sometimes when you have super happy days, and then there are other days where you just procrastinate and don't want to do anything. But I think of that as the law of rhythm, because not every day is the same. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. And not only that, as far as my professional life, I even think about real estate and the markets. You know, sometimes you're in a seller's market and sometimes you're in a buyer's market. Well, that's just the law of rhythm. That's just how it goes. You know, not every seller can be on top all the time, and then the buyers have their chances. So those are the things that a couple of the things that come to my mind when we talk about the law of rhythm.
Wonderful.
It's so true. It's so true. There's always a period of rest and a period of activity. And I think, nobody can go 100% 100% of the time. So, you know, there's always going to be like, you do have to sleep, right? Like that is part of the cycle. That is part of the ebb and the flow. You know, there's a time for rest, there's a time for action. And just knowing that, you know, if you're in a low period, or, you know, a slow period, that it will pick up again. It will get better again, right? Like it's just, I always think of my mom, you know, she always would say, this too shall pass. So, you know, just having that, just knowing that it's not going to last forever, even the low moments, right? And, you know, the same can be said for happy moments too. But it's just like Amber had mentioned, it's all part of the human experience to experience both the highs and the lows, so that you do know and appreciate when things are really, really good. Because if not, it would be pretty monotonous, I would think.
Yeah, that's such a good point, that it would be pretty monotonous if everything was always great, right? Or even everything was always bad. It becomes pretty boring. But knowing that there is those peaks and valleys, and that if you're up, if you're down, you know, you're the only way you can go is up, right? So yeah, amazing. And I love this, I love the quote of this too shall pass. I say that a lot, and my daughter actually has a tattoo with that, because she realizes it, that, you know, no matter what happens in life, you know, if it's bad, it's gonna pass, it's gonna go away, and we're gonna get something else that's gonna come in and be great. So
Yeah.
wonderful. And okay, so next question. So in what ways can understanding the cyclical nature of life help us become more resilient and less reactive?
I think understanding that it's all part of life, that everything that is coming to us is all happening for us, whether or not we feel like it's good or bad, you know, but we can choose to look at it, you know, a different way, and understand that, you know, tougher times are not going to last, are not going to last forever. And yeah, I find that really like helps me a lot, knowing that it isn't going to last forever. Yeah,
Yeah, we can always get through it, right? There's
exactly.
always a calm after the storm.
Yeah,
Really.
I'm experiencing it right now, with an autoimmune disease that I'm going through. And, but I know that if I keep doing the regime, if I keep doing, you know, what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to come out of this feeling really great. So, yeah, perfect example of what I'm experiencing right now.
Mm.
I love that. Yeah, speaking of that, like myself and my family, like we're going through some contrasts as well. And to be honest, I had forgotten what topic we were doing today, but as soon as you said it, Leslie, I was like, of course. Right? Because I just had a moment earlier, and you know, and so knowing what I know about this stuff, I'm like, okay, like how am I going to shift out of this, or like what version of myself am I going to be today, right? Um, so when you said that, I was like, wow. I was like, this is definitely like a message for myself, right? As well as I'm sure other people, but just knowing that it's not, I mean, we have to see something else, right, than what we're seeing with our eyes, if that makes sense. We have to see what we
Mhm.
want to see. Um, and just knowing that, like, it doesn't matter, you know.
It's always thinking about what it is that we want. So nothing is neither good nor bad, it just is.
Mhm.
And if we kind of go through life thinking about that, it just is, it might not be exactly how you dreamed that it would be, but if you just keep thinking about what you want, and what is something that's ideal for you, then eventually that's going to become. So it's like those rhythms, right? You get to the low, and it may not be what you had anticipated it to be. But if you still continue just to think about what it is that you want, you're going to start going up on that higher level and getting closer to where you want to be. So I
Yeah.
think that just knowing like we have the rhythm of life, and knowing like in anything that happens, the way we feel, the people we meet, it's just all flowing, and it's flowing the way that it should be flowing. Right.
Yeah. Just having that trust, that faith, that knowing that everything is always working out. Because that's the thing, the world keeps turning, and that's part of the law of rhythm. It doesn't stop. Everything keeps going. It's in motion. The world doesn't stop because, something happens. Everything keeps going, keeps shifting. So it's like, how do I pull up my socks and keep keep going along with this, right? Like, understanding that it's just all part of the process. It's not that we're being targeted in any way. Like, a lot of the times you hear, well, why did this happen to me? Why do these things always happen to me? And it's like, they're not happening to you, they're happening for you, and nobody is being singled out. Everybody is going through the motions and learning and expanding. And, unfortunately, some of these experiences aren't going to always feel amazing, right? But just knowing that the amazing feelings will come. Yeah, you might have some poopy feelings, sometimes, but the amazing feelings are on their way too. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So do you feel that we can consciously influence the rhythm of our lives, or are we simply just meant to ride the waves?
that's such a great question.
I think that if we go through with courage, through the adversities, and we go through with courage and faith, that it makes it easier just knowing that, just having the courage and having the faith, it makes those down times easier to look up and to know that you have something to look forward to going up, and finding gratitude, while going through those things is another helpful tool that will help guide us through the rhythms of the ups and downs. Always having gratitude, no matter where you are, whether you're up or whether you're down. I think carrying gratitude throughout will just help make the shifts smoother.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so it's not, well, number one, it's not about like stopping it, you know what I mean? But knowing that it's gonna come, right? Stuff's gonna happen. But seeing the lesson in it, right? Instead of like Nicole said, why is this happening to me, right? Why is this happening for me? And then also to like knowing that it's all just information, right? To where we're at. But knowing that we can change the frequency and the length of time, in that if we're sad, for instance, right, we can look at it, okay, like, why am I sad, right? Why is this coming up for me, right? And then shifting into what we want to see, right? So I think there's no avoidance, but there's how long are we staying in it, right? So like anger is an emotion, right? They're going to have as humans, but like how long are we angry for, right? Are we now angry for 5 minutes? And then we're shifting out of it, okay, into gratitude, like Jennine said, is another great thing, which helps shift, with anger and frustration. So it's how long are we staying in it? And I think that really helps solidify the law of rhythm, and to kind of get back going the other direction. And then I think with that, as we do that more and more, then it becomes habitual. And then from there, we're not experiencing those things as much. So it's not so much to eliminate it, but it's more of like the frequency of them happening.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, Amber, right? Deciding that how long you're going to stay in it, right? Like the ebbs and flows are going to come. It's just a fact of life. But, you know, deciding to be miserable or deciding to be happy is a choice. So you can really improve your situation by like the mindset, that attitude that you hold, right? Like you can't change the ups and downs of life. You know, yes, you can kind of, sort of navigate in a certain way to have more positive experiences in your life versus more negative ones. I fully agree with that. However, everybody experiences ups and downs. That's just par for the course.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's also important not to beat yourself up, right? When you're down in a low, or if you're in a slower period, it's not bad, right? Like it's not good or bad. It's just something that is happening. It's part of the cycle. It's par for the course. And it's just a season, right? Like think about the seasons that we go through. It's, you know, we experience those things in our lives like consistently. So knowing and understanding that, you know, it's just part of the part of life, part of the cycle, part of the whole human experience, and everybody experiences it. It's not just one person, right? Like
Yeah.
we all go through it. So
It's such a good such a good way to look at it, that everybody experiences it. And you know, we can't stop that natural flow, like we can't stop the tide coming or going, right? But we can prepare for it by being aware, right? When we're in the ebb, we can, you know, sit and we can reflect and we can take the gratitude and, you know, sort of prepare for those lower times that of things that might make us feel better, right?
mhm.
Being more aware of how we feel during those times, right? And just the awareness of there is an ebb and flow. It's natural rhythm that goes on, and there's peaks and valleys. And when you're down, you're going to be up, and when you're up, you're going to be down. And it doesn't matter what frequency you're on. You can go up frequencies, you can go down frequencies, you can stay on the same frequency and still have the up and down, right?
Mhm.
It's just a natural flow.
Yeah, but you know, in those cases, you can influence the ups and downs by your reaction to, you know, to where you are. You know, if you like, it's a choice, you know, feeling bad, I mean, being mad and angry and things like that. And when you bring yourself out of that anger mode and choose to be happy, um, you know, you're going to bring yourself out of it quicker, out of that low, a lot quicker. So you can influence, you know, the rhythm, I believe.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that goes to like, I think it was Leslie was saying that you should have awareness about like how you're feeling and stuff like that. But also understanding like it's being aware of the feelings, but also asking yourself the questions like, you know, why do I feel this way? And what do I need? What would make me feel better in this moment? And if it's something that you can give yourself, do it, right? Like it's about learning, almost like self-parenting, right? Like because there's a little child inside that, you know, is the one that's usually the one getting upset because its feelings are hurt. And understanding how certain situations make you feel, um, it's taking it a step further and understanding what makes you feel better and then doing that. And like Jennine said, you know, you can kind of lift yourself out of those lows that much quicker.
Wow, such great advice. Well, this has been such a wonderful discussion. Is there anything else anybody want to add about the law of rhythm?
Think of it like a roller coaster.
Like a roller coaster. It
You
is.
can't jump off the ride, but I mean, you know, eventually it's gonna come back around, and then yeah.
Yep.
So true. So true. Well, life moves in waves, highs and lows, ebbs and flows. And the law of rhythm reminds us that nothing stays still, but everything always returns to a balance. Thanks everyone for tuning into the Million Gold Nuggets podcast. If you got value out of this episode or think someone would benefit from it, please hit the share button and don't forget to like and hit the bell icon to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until we meet again, remember the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Bye for now.